Hello everyone, welcome to the final lesson video for Unit 1 Python Basics, where we'll be talking about built-in functions, operators, and modules. So let's start off with built-in function, which will be just a quick review of what we learned so far. So there are int, float, bool, and string functions, and these are our data type converters. So basically, when we give it a parameter of certain values, it will try to either convert it to an integer, float, boolean, or a string value. And it will return that value, and we can assign that to a variable. And we had some other introductory or useful built-in function that's been provided by Python, such as the length, max, and a min function. Length will help us determine how many items there are in our given sequence parameter. Max can determine the biggest value between our parameters, and min will give us the smallest value between our parameters. We're going to learn something new right now, and they're called assignment operators. Assignment operators are, they allow us to assign values to a variable, and we can also do a little operations at the same time, especially mathematical operation. So we have learned one assignment operator so far, which was the equal sign. It helps us assign a label to a value, and we could write that, well, A is now equal to the value B. So, and that was a assignment operator we learned so far. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more assignment operators that we can learn. So there is the plus equal, which is add, then assign the value. So if I had variable A, and if I were to update A with by adding the value B, we can use the plus equal operator to add and assign. In the exact same way, we can also subtract B from A and update A with the result. We can multiply A and B, then assign that result. We can divide A by B, then assign the result to A. And then we could also do floor divide, where we do A floor divide by B and assign the result back to A. And in that same pattern, we can also do exponentiation and modulus. So in this example below, I have variable 1 is equal to 42 and variable 2 is equal to 13. If I were to say variable 1 minus equals variable 2, our result would be 29, where I subtracted 42 and 13 and got the difference of 29 updated onto variable 1. Let's talk about modules. Module is a set of Python code with the sole purpose that exists to group related codes. It helps us extend the capabilities of your current Python code by importing it onto your code, and we can also avoid creating solutions that already exist. So basically, for us to use a module, we have to import them, and a lot of modules have been created so that we don't repeat or recreate stuff that's already been created. So for example, this is an example run, and what I want you to do right now is pause the video and try to copy these 12 lines of code into a new replit and see what happens when you click run. Let's talk about this code here. On line 4, I'm importing a module called math, whereas on line 7, I'm going to a module called random and importing a function called ranRange and changing the name to random range with the capital R so that we properly follow our naming convention. In line 9, I'm accessing the module that I imported on line 4 and accessing the value called pi. So we get to access the value of pi. Whereas on line 12, I get to randomly generate a number from 10 to 20 by using our random range function. A little note about the random range function that it will never include the last value. So in line 12, we will only be able to generate a single random number between 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, not including 20. So let's talk about the first keyword that we learned, which is import. Import allows us to access to the entire code inside a module. So we can use it by using the keyword import and using the module name right after it. You don't need to put .py or anything. We just need the module name. So for example, if I imported math, I can use the square root function that exists in the math module, which will be math.square root of 25. Next, if I use the from import feature, we get to go inside a module and import only certain section of a module. So we did that here, where we went inside the random module and only imported the rand range function. And if you wanted to, you can also change what you imported, the name of the content you imported, by using the as keyword. So let's talk about the math module. The math module contains functions and constants that are often used for mathematical programming, and here are some examples, and there are plenty more that are found in the Python documentation website. So math.ceiling, it will round up any parameter as long as it's an integer. Math.floor, it will always round down to its closest integer. There's math.fabs, which returns the absolute non-negative value of x. So if you had negative 42, it'll convert that to a positive 42. If you want to calculate the factorial of a number, we can use the math.factorial function to calculate the factorial of x, which is the equivalent of the x exclamation mark operation in math. And lastly, another good example is the greatest common divisor a function, where we can take two values and find the greatest common divisor between them, knowing that a and b are both integers. There's also the random module. So if you're interested in creating games or tiny little games in Python, random module is always very handy. The random module contains functions that allows us to simulate randomness. For example, if I use the function choice from a sequence, it will choose a random item or a character from a string or an item from a list. If I want to generate random numbers that are decimals from 0.0 to 1.0, I can use the random.random function. So basically, I've imported function random, and now I'm using the period to access the function called random. And this will help you generate a random floating point value from 0.0 to 1.0. In this video, we talked about built-in functions, where we were reviewing some built-in functions that we've been using so far. Then we talked about assignment operators, where we can update a variable that we had created before with doing some mathematical operations on them and re-updating them to a new value. Then we talked about two modules, the math module and random module, where we can import them to our code so that we can extend the capabilities of our Python program. There are exercises in the slide set which I want you to try, and I'll be creating separate solutions videos for each exercises. Thank you for watching. Stay classy.